Yo, people, welcome back to another stream of Two Up Front. I'm your host, Ace, and I'm with my brother Abdul from across the globe. You know, Arsenal fans, man, it's been a great week so far. We're so close to it being a perfect week, and I thought there's no better person for me to break this down with than Abdul. So yeah, bro, how are you doing, bro? Introduce yourself and let the people know where to find you.
Yeah, Abdul here over here. So yeah, literally great week for the Arsenal. And yeah, looking forward to a big game. You can obviously now find me on 40 Goals AU. That's the little company I got running. So yeah, let's talk, man.
Hey man, that should be good, man. There's definitely a lot for us to kind of dissect because I think we haven't actually spoken about any of the games this week so far. So I thought definitely kind of catch up on what we've missed since our last stream, which was about like a month ago. So just kind of like look at what the results were saying, kind of talk a bit more in depth about how this week has gone so far, and then do a little preview for tomorrow to just see if we have enough to get over the line to complete what could be the perfect week, man. Because it's actually crazy because I don't know where you kind of stood on the like before we get into this game week. That whole 3 games this week, you had to lose one. Like, which game would you have lost? Like, where did you kind of stand on that whole kind of debate going into the week?
Now, to be honest, I mean, I think for sure you don't want to lose any games, man. Like
Yeah.
I think we've got some momentum obviously going in, but I think at the moment, like the long game is obviously the Premier League. So if you had to choose to lose one, even though it'd be a killer, you'd obviously choose the Bayern game.
Mm,
But at the end of the day, like as in we've obviously gone in. Um, we've gone in and looked at this particular run of games and thought, like let's take it one game at a time, which I think we've done. So
mm.
yeah, man. Now it's just about making sure we can finish off the week strong, man.
No, 100%, man. And just even, I was just looking through the fixture since we spoke last. 'Cause I remember when we spoke just after the Atletico Madrid game. So I remember we were saying that, oh, yeah, had a tough game against Palace the next week. Obviously, we beat them 1-0. Tough game, go over the line. Just stop me to there's any of these games that you just gonna maybe a thought that you want to just bring up. Brighton beat them 2-0 at the Carabao Cup, which I think is actually very important for me this season as well, which we might get into a bit later. That, yeah, the cup competitions, Premier League, Champions League is all great, but we need to get over the line in these cups as well. Because even that game, I was quite surprised. Arteta rotated so heavily. But obviously, we still go over the line in that. Because I remember I went to Emirates for that game. I was thinking, yeah, if we lose this, as great as things are going this season, I'm not going to be happy. But thankfully, the squad depth, like that was like kind of like the start of them showing that, yeah, they're definitely more than good enough. But yeah, so Brighton 2-0, beat Burnley 2-0, Slavia Prague 3-0. Probably that was a very good performance. And then we ended the kind of pre-international break with that disappointing 2-2 draw against Sunderland, which was, yeah, I mean that was definitely the kind of like dampener after like a really good kind of run of games. But so yeah, man, before we kind of even get into, I guess, this week and go into a bit more detail, what's been like your kind of overall feeling, I guess, over the last kind of month of fixtures since we kind of spoke last as an Arsenal fan? Talk to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you've gone through that. I mean, we obviously went through that October period without conceding shots on target, let alone goals. Like
Mm,
we were going through it. Um, I think the Sunderland game was probably one step too far for kind of the injuries and stuff that we were running into. I think
mm,
had you had like a Madueke or a Martinelli off the bench in that particular scenario, I think we can probably run that game a lot closer, and but look, I think that was probably the only blip in that particular period. But to
mm.
be honest, it's we've just been a mechanical engine and just churning,
Right.
just going through and picking up results, picking up wins. So nah, so far so good, man. Honestly, and the thing is, right, we had a tough start to the season. When you're looking at the fixture list and you got Old Trafford first game of the season, you got Liverpool and City in the first 5 games, right? Up until that first international break, I think it was key that this particular period between the first international break and the second international break that we had to get maximum points, and I think we had done that. Obviously also getting a win over Brighton in the cup, um, but just literally tripped at the last hurdle, against Sunderland, man. But you know. before we knew that this particular period of games, starting from the Spurs game, we're approaching that little period in the middle. So it was important for us to obviously get past that middle stage, knowing that we had a tough run of games after that second international break.
No, 100%. I feel like that's what made the Sunderland game so painful because it did feel like we just need to get away with this performance aside. Like with all the injuries, you're starting to pile up. But like, just get through this national break, get this win because we know we're coming back to really tough fixtures. I think that's what made it like, oh, you drop points against Sunderland, and now you're going into a North London derby. You're going into a sign like this Chelsea game. You're thinking now we can't afford to drop points in those games. Obviously, it's helped us now that Liverpool and City have, I guess, continued to drop points that we probably didn't expect them to drop. It's probably lessened the kind of blow from that Sunderland performance. But yeah, definitely going into the international break, like in that feeling, I was like, oh, I hope this is not like and again, there was all the sharks are coming, and all the City fans were getting, and so they were getting excited also that yeah, they're coming for us, they're gonna claw us back again. So I was thinking, oh, Arsenal, North London derby, this could be a potential banana peel. So yeah, I guess kind of coming like into that kind of, I guess, start of the week, obviously before we know what we know now, like what were your kind of like feelings going into this week, and I guess that North London derby, if we get into that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do.
interesting because I'm thinking in my head, right? Look, Spurs probably the biggest game of the season. You know, you obviously want to do well, you want to perform well, and like as in, and obviously it was the biggest start to this particular run here, right? So like, you obviously, you know what they say, man. Is it was the Eberechi Eze derby, So like, so even he had a chip on his shoulder, like before wanting to go out on the field for this game. And but look, to be honest with you, I think the Spurs game was an important game for us. It's the derby, and I think we showed up, man. We showed well. And at the end of the day, we had to get a good start to this run, And I think in hindsight, probably the derby run just gets everyone, man. It gets the team up, gets the fans up, like ready to go. Like we got to, put one on our rivals, and it kind of sets you up for the next couple games, man. So to be honest with you, man, that's kind of how I was looking at that particular game.
No, 100%. I think, I guess, kind of like you're looking at it tactically. Like, do you feel like what do you think kind of worked for us like the most in that kind of game? And like, where do you think kind of, I guess, Spurs' mistakes were? Because I think we haven't actually spoken about that game, so I don't even mind kind of like, yeah, like any like standout performances, like who kind of caught you. Obviously, as they got that hat trick, but is there any other players that you think definitely deserve kind of like some credit going like in that game and like I guess the season so far? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, Spurs, to be honest, man, made that game a lot easier for us, man. We've obviously gone in there and we already know what type of game we're going to play. I'm surprised we just didn't score a set piece. I'm guessing. So look, at the end of the day, like I think Spurs made that game easy for us. I don't think Thomas Frank set up that game particularly well, just from a Spurs point of view. I think he did pretty negatively in that game, which to be honest, kind of shocked me, man. Like in terms of a North London derby, you want to go in and go through and make sure that you're putting your best foot forward and stuff. And I don't think they did that, man. And I think we could talk about the game tactically, but I don't think it was a tactical game, man. I think it was more passion, like as in and at the end of the day, you have two teams, that hate each other, but I think one team wanted it more, man. Like, and that's the reality. I mean, if you want to talk about individual performances, I mean, there's no other person we could start with than Eberechi Eze, man. Like as in he took the game by the scruff of the neck. And I think I mean, look, if you do want to talk about the tactics, right? Like I think Arsenal's main kind of main tactic or what they wanted to achieve was to leave that space open in the middle of the field, right? So if you look at all of Eze's goals, you can see that there's literally no one in the middle, right? We've dragged them to the wings, and literally we've popped it back into Eze, and he's obviously taking his chances very very well, man. I have to ask you, what was your favorite goal out of the three? If you could, because for me,
Mm,
we could get to you, but for me, I think that second goal, like how he like caresses it into the net, like absolute pure joy, man, pure.
mm,
And it was the one that killed him at the start of the second half. You go into the
yeah, the timing,
changing
yeah, it
room,
was, yup,
go into the changing
yup,
room, and it's
yup.
like, yeah, man, look what we got to get onto them, this and that, and then you come out and bang already. Do you get what I'm saying?
No, 100%. Nah. If you think of like the importance of the goal, that definitely probably was the most important goal in the game because it definitely kind of stopped any resurgence and like I guess the chances of Spurs coming back. But yeah, now for me, I think my favorite is definitely the third one, man. I think what he does to you, Dougie, is just so disrespectful. Like just letting the ball just roll across his body, let him dive in, slide past him, and then put it into the corner. Yeah, nah. I think that was definitely my favorite. I think that was definitely just a quality finish. And I think just in general was speaking about yesterday in the stream. Like this guy almost got 2 left foot goals, 2 right foot goals. Like if it wasn't for Vicari, he probably would have got a double with both feet. So yeah, no, just the technical ability that he showed in that game was amazing, man. And it's actually quite funny because I think coming off the back of the international break, he was probably the player that I was saying that I definitely needed to see a lot more from. Like in terms of his performances so far in the Arsenal shirt, I think he's definitely had some big performances, big kind of moments in games. Like, yeah, obviously the goal against Crystal Palace, the assist from Martinelli, like all of that stuff. I was like, he was kind of coming in and out, but I feel like he wasn't like kind of stamping himself down as like one of the key men. Like I feel like sometimes some players carry themselves as like Saka. Give me the ball. I'm one of the key men in this team. I'm going to try and make something happen. He kind of seemed like he was kind of like letting the game kind of go by sometimes and not really stamping the authority of like coming in, like knowing that you're not the star man in Palace. You're one of the players in Arsenal. We still have to like stand out as one of the best players in Arsenal still, even though it's such a good team. So I feel like definitely off the back of the international break, and especially that Spurs game, I think that was definitely like exactly what I'm trying to see from him in terms of just like making stuff happen and making sure he's leaving with something in games. And it's not just decent performances. So yeah, nah, man, definitely have to give him a lot of credit. So no, definitely echo your words. I think he's the standout performer from that game. Like, yeah, you can tell he actually is an Arsenal fan because clearly like, there was a lot of hatred there that goes beyond and even more. This guy said I prayed for a hat trick. I don't know. He
He
prays for
gave
a
him
hat
this
trick.
one.
Yeah,
He gave
nah,
him
he
this
was
one.
too cheeky, man. He was too cheeky, man. Like, yeah, like it all worked out, man. I think that's what made it so funny too. It was like just how poetic it is. Like 3 months ago, he could have been a Spurs player, and 3 months later, he scored a hat trick for Arsenal. So, nah, man, it was meant to be. So, fair play to him. Yeah, fair play to him. But yeah, no, but then I think
Yeah,
the
no,
other
for
play
sure.
that
And
I
I
think,
think one thing I'll add, right, like, is in just
mm,
on a tactical kind of note, right? Like, I
mm,
think um, Arsenal fans are so used to seeing Martin Odegaard kind of in that particular position, and I think he plays that particular position like, in a completely different way. So, Odegaard is a high touch, high volume, high passer, and like as in a conductor in a sense, like as in he plays the balls. I think in those first weeks, like kind of towards the start of the season, you're looking at a player kind of in Martin Odegaard who obviously controls, he's more of a controller in the midfield, but then. But Eze is a different type of player. He is very low touch. If you could see, I don't have stats with me, but you can see that he doesn't touch the ball a whole lot. He's not that much of a conductor, but what he does is he finishes chances. I think it's going to be a very very important aspect of this particular iteration of Arsenal, because I remember there were games last season where we could not break teams down. But if you have someone that can shoot outside the box and that can create a chance out of nothing, you know different facet and a different type of player to Odegaard. But like as in that's definitely going to bode well for sure, man. So at the end of the day, man, like I said, I think he did start slow, but I think Arteta did mention as well, will new players come in, they have relationships, and he's slowly building those relationships, man. So I'll give him but praise and nothing bad to say about Arteta.
No, 100%. And like you said, that was definitely a big. I think we spoke about it in our previous stream as well. That was definitely a big issue in terms of us breaking down like teams that do set up maybe a low block and be more defensive, but definitely having a player outside the box that can take those kind of shots definitely also forces opposition maybe to come out a bit more than they would otherwise, which then opens up more space like across the pitch. So yeah, no, I think definitely having him as a different profile to Odegaard has been amazing. Like it's gonna be very interesting to see what happens when Odegaard comes back, like fully fit, and like how they're going to play together. So yeah, no, it's gonna be very interesting, man. Like, and then yeah. But then what's it called? And then I guess kind of going into it, I think Spurs game, great, good feeling. We get the win. We move on to the next big game of the week, which is obviously Bayern. Because that was definitely the one where, like you say, if you look at any of the games going into it, I was like, I'd want to win, but I don't even mind about Arteta kind of rotates in this game. That's maybe the other kind of question going into tomorrow, that we kind of have kept a very strong team across both games so far. And like, you don't want to hope that maybe the third time is maybe when there's not as much energy as there needs to be, because Chelsea are definitely going to be a big threat to us also in this match. So I feel like this Bayern game was definitely the one where I said, okay, I don't mind you kind of resting some legs. If we win, we win. If we don't win, I don't really care. We're in a good position in Champions League. But obviously, Arteta went for the route of let's continue winning. And like, so you put out a strong team. And even then, there was no guarantee, because going into this game too, we're looking at what probably were the two best teams in the Champions League so far in terms of goals scored, goals conceded, maximum points. So it was like, who was gonna break? Was it gonna be Bayern's great attack that's scoring goals and has been unbeaten so far this season, or will it be Arsenal's defensive structure, who have just sometimes been mature, getting their wins also? So yeah, no. So yeah, going into this game, yeah. So yeah, I guess give me your thoughts, analysis on that, the Bayern game, and what your kind of key takeaways were.
Yeah, man. The buying game was definitely a tactical battle. Unlike the Spurs game, where I thought that was more of a passion battle, but I think the buying game was a very very tactical, intriguing game. I think, to be honest with you, I think in that first opening 20 minutes where Bayern had, I think, 71% possession, I think Arsenal are not really used to that, but. I remember in my group chats and like people saying, Bayern dominating, and I didn't feel like that at all, man. Like I didn't feel Bayern were dominating. I think they had the ball and they had the lion's share of possession, but I don't think they were onto kind of our goal. And we were kind of in a comfortable block, it's in a comfortable position. So at the end of the day, like we were kind of managing the game very very well, and as we've seen, multiple times this season, we have a set piece that opens up the game, and it's kind of set piece again, ole ole, so I think the game changes then, and we kind of get a foothold, and we have a couple chances after that, but then the quality of Bayern shines. I think when Kimmich plays a very long ball over Lewis Skelly's head. But I think we can touch on that in a second. But to be fair, he plays an amazing long ball. That Gnabry doesn't have to break his stride. He can pop it down to Leonard Carl, and Carl obviously puts it in. Who, by the way, Leonard Carl, man, is a very very great talent, man. He's gonna go far. Just not even just to finish, man, but just kind of his confidence at 17. Like we've got our
Hey
own kind
man,
of teenagers as well.
listen,
So
I know, but do
it's
we have to talk about that
yeah.
as well? Because that's actually something I didn't speak about yesterday, but definitely we continue getting into,
Mm.
like, I guess what went well, but definitely someone who really struggled was MLS in that game, man. Like, I feel like Elise dealt with him, then Elise moved away, then Gnabry went, and obviously Gnabry runs off him to get that goal and that assist for Leonard Carl. And then even Leonard Carl probably should have made it 2-1, I think, early in the second half, where he runs off him also. So yeah, I don't know. What's your kind of I guess take on MLS performance in that game too? before you continue.
Yeah, I mean, look, Miles didn't have a good game, man. I think everyone and their dog knows that. But it's not to say that he's a bad player, man. He's still a quality player. I just think he's cold, man. You have Calafiori, excuse me, who's playing week after week, and he's obviously match fit doing the business. I think what Lewis Skelly's last kind of start was must have been one of the Champions League games, like against Slavia, man. That was like before the international break. So like you're looking at a player who, isn't getting that many minutes. Isn't used to kind of and like you have to remember, but Lewis Skelly has locked up some really really good wingers, man.
Yeah,
It's
I know.
just I just
I
think
was
he's coming in
actually,
cold, man.
yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Now I feel like, well, I think he definitely was cold because actually was quite looking forward to his performance against Elise, because I thought even Calafiori, as good as he is, sometimes defensively against these kind of tricky wingers, he also kind of scares me a bit because I think he dives in and he can get spun. So I think MLS from a defensive perspective, I thought could do a good job, and I think he could definitely do a much better job. And the biggest factor is that he hasn't been starting games. So I definitely agree with you. Like I think, yeah, we have to call it out that he didn't have a good game. So this is not to like criticize him, but he just didn't have a good game. But the reasons behind that probably is because he isn't starting enough and he isn't playing enough. And the reason why he isn't starting and playing enough is because Calafiori too has been ridiculous, man. Like he's actually been ridiculous. Like even coming on to have the impact he had also in that game. Yeah, he's been. I don't know if you want to speak about his performance. I think he's definitely the player that I think last season we barely saw, and it was definitely a disappointment that we spent this much on this guy and he can barely stay fit. He's such a weird footballer, picking up the most random positions on the pitch. But yeah, he's really impressed me this season. Like every time I see him play, like yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if you want to
Yeah,
touch on his performance and
look, I'll touch in touching on his performance. I'll touch on kind of the subs just in general, right? Because I think that the subs won us that game. And the fact that we're able to obviously rely on our subs bench, for to change the game, like as in is immense. And to be honest, look, we've already spoken on Calafiori before, like as in we've already kind of landed on our tier list with him. He's been immense, man. He's been carrying on with good performances, and it's definitely good that he's obviously had a run of games as well. So we're looking at a really really good talent, good player, and we're glad that we've been able to have him for this for a long period of time, man. But like I mentioned before, I think the subs kind of win that game, just to kind of finish off the analysis. And I think, but even before that, to be honest with you, man, like coming out of the second half, we're
yeah,
absolutely peppering
I,
them,
I
man.
think I think
Like
you
as in
alluded to it
it was
earlier.
chance after chance. Declan Rice, man,
Yeah,
Declan Rice, man. I think we have a mutual friend who has some words to say about Declan Rice, man. But
hey
to be
man,
honest with
yeah,
you,
it
man,
hasn't aged well. That's what I'm gonna say.
I'm
All
lost for
I'm gonna
words,
say
man,
is
because
yeah.
I think he changes the game. So, like, this is the reality, man. At the end of the day, man. So, like, Declan Rice, literally, in a nutshell, he changes his game. He changes his game. Um, just with his energy, his delivery from the set pieces. He's going crazy, man. He's going crazy. But yeah, man, I definitely got a shout out the subs, man. Calafiori makes my okay, and Marley comes off the bench to obviously to seal it, man. So I don't know what if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, no, I think you broke it down perfectly. I think yeah, I agree with what you said there. I feel like Bayern had moved the ball, but we kind of controlled them in front of us. We had the more dangerous chances, but they definitely imposed themselves on us. And I think we definitely had to drop back and respect them. So I'll give them like the 20 minutes and probably the first half in general. I think they were the better team, but second half it wasn't even close. Because I know you were kind of alluded to it earlier, which is what makes it even funny when Kimmich obviously comes out after the game to talk about PSG were our most difficult game and Arsenal they love the long ball. But yeah, I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that because yeah, those comments were definitely very very salty. But yeah, what was your take on those comments from Kimmich?
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, This makes me laugh because the thing is, like, I feel like I don't know if it's like a European thing or but some people just don't respect all the facets of the game. Or like, like in the game, there's there's set pieces, long balls. Like, you got to respect every facet of the game, man. But speaking of long balls, I don't know if you've seen the stat, but Bayern actually played more long balls than Arsenal did, man.
I actually
So I
saw
think
that.
Kimmich has
Yeah,
got to check
yeah,
the stats book, man.
yeah. He's letting Tua get to him.
So at the end of the day, man, yeah, like so it's one of those ones where um you got to respect all facets of the game, man. Um, I think Arteta's mentioned in the past where he wants to be kings of everything. And I think that's obviously like a key, like as in if you're good at something, and I think obviously this we've mentioned this in the past, man. You're good at something, you got to obviously into it, and that's what we've been doing. Every time Saka or Rice took a corner, you should have seen them
Bro,
guys
they
were
were
scared in there,
flapping.
man.
They were
Like as in
flapping.
every
Yeah.
set piece that obviously jumped in, man. They were flapping, man. So at the end of the day, man, we're here, and 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 every facet of the game is important, man, for sure. So honestly, Kimmich can say what he wants, man. I'm more interested in some of the other comments, man. How like as in they want to beat us, like as in towards the end of the campaign and the knockout stages and stuff. They want to play us again. Well, it's a welcome challenge, man. They're a really, really good team, man, for sure. But we definitely impose ourselves, man. So long may it continue.
No, 100%. And like I think that game was definitely kind of sold as like the two best teams in Europe. And obviously I think coming off the back of that, that's why there's been a lot of conversation of like right now are Arsenal the best team in Europe, like in terms of form and how we're playing. I don't know if you have any kind of thoughts on that. Like are you like confident to say that right now, or do you think there's anyone else in Europe right now that you look at and you say, yeah, they might still be better than us. Like, obviously form wise, because we still haven't won anything. But yeah, what's your take on that before we get into, I guess, the champions of Europe, and we kind of preview that Chelsea game,
Yeah,
discuss
yeah,
who's gonna take the ultimate title.
yeah, the form team at the moment is Arsenal, man. At the moment, we're defending resolutely. We're defending really well, and we are scoring goals, man. I think there was a big worry that Arsenal can't score goals that are not set pieces, and then we put 4 open play goals past Spurs. So it's one of those ones where I think if you're looking at kind of the landscape in Europe, we've gone up against arguably the you could arguably say Bayern Munich are the best team in Europe at the moment. And to be honest with you, that second half was I don't want to say it was a no contest, but to be honest, man, like I said, we were streets ahead in that particular game. So at the moment, it would be fair to say that we are probably the best team in Europe at the moment. And but again, company said it very very well. You don't win the title in November, man. So we still got a lot of games and a lot of hurdles to jump over. Because no one wants to be the best team in November. You want to be the best team in May. And I think that's the most important thing for, at least for me. So we're gonna see how we go.
No, 100. I definitely echo those words. But then, yes, getting into actually, I don't know if you want to quickly answer this question before we get into the Chelsea preview. Discuss that. I see this question by Kareem. Question for the chat: is it fair to say that the team that wins the January transfer window wins the league? If City get a pivot player, Arsenal get a left winger, if Chelsea sign a centre back, Gay level. So I'll let you take this one away, bro. Do you think it's fair to say this? And do you think that certain transfers can completely kind of change things from here? What's your take?
It's an interesting, yeah. It's an interesting question. I think I guess it depends on the buff and the gap by the time January comes. Because I think if Arsenal's to open up we win this weekend, obviously we'll get to the Chelsea game, but we'd be 9 points ahead of the running pack. And it's one of those ones where we've hit a point where Arsenal are in a really, really good position, with a quality depth, and to be fair to Kareem, I don't even think Arsenal are gonna go into the market, man. Especially with Madueke and Martinelli coming back. I think obviously Trossard has been really, really important to that. I don't even think we've had a word on him. Like he's been amazing this season. Popping up with some important goals. But look, honestly, for sure, if City do get a pivot player in, or Liverpool actually sign a centre back, even Chelsea, to be honest with you, 100%, they're going to be, within the run. I don't think this league is done. I'm confident, but it's not done. Again, like I mentioned before, nothing is won in November, man. So we obviously just got to keep going, man.
Yeah, no, 100. Yeah, no, I think I wouldn't say the team that wins the January transfer window wins the league, because I agree. I feel like it also depends on the caliber and who and how well these players come in. Like if we're 12 points clear of Chelsea, then if they sign a centre back, I don't think that's going to be enough to help them claw us back. I think City also they could get a pivot player, but I feel like even if I actually agree with you, I wouldn't be surprised if we actually don't buy anyone in January, and I can't even complain if that's the case, because you can't sit here saying our squad depth is so good, and I can't think of where we'd replace players. The left wing position definitely maybe early in the season, but the way the form Trossard is in right now, and the fact that there's still other players, let's be real, Odegaard is going to come back into this team. Eze is going to play left wing sometimes too. Martinelli's going to play there. Madueke is going to play there. At some point, this is where I always say with managers too, like, bro, coach. Understand? Let's not look at the window and say who can you bring in to change things. Coach, you have more than enough players there. So I think Arteta is definitely in that position now where like he can't be talking about I need a left winger to get me over the line here. Like I'm not trying to hear none of that. So yeah, that's why I think like we can't say it won't have an impact, because City could maybe get a play that makes a difference and they go on a run. But I wouldn't say it's as straightforward as to say that the team that wins the January transfer window wins the league, in my opinion. But yeah, no, but it's a perfect kind of segue, because yeah, I see you say Chelsea send a centre back, because we say that's probably maybe one of the positions that Chelsea are still lacking when we but to talk about Chelsea as like a serious title contending team that's ready to go. But the one thing that we can say about Chelsea is that they are a very dangerous team, man. Because I think we've seen enough big games this season. Their game week against Barcelona also. We can criticize Barcelona and say they're terrible, and we can understand we can do all the kind of caveats, but we also have to, at the end of the day, say Chelsea were also very good. And they have some very good players right now that are in very good form. And this is not going to be an easy game this weekend. So yeah, talk to me, bro. What's your how are you feeling about this kind of final big hurdle? Because like you say, we win this game, it's 9 points to Chelsea. We lose this game, it's 3 points to Chelsea and 4 points to City. And then again, we're not as comfortable as maybe we are looking at. Like I'm saying, like what's the time over here? What 10:51 UK time, PM UK time. Like tomorrow, it could be completely different. So yeah, talk to me about this Chelsea game, bro.
Yeah, Chelsea away, man. The team that took everything from us, man. I'll be honest with you, man. Like we have to go into this game and we have to win, man. There's no second thoughts. Like I've heard people talking about a draw. Draw is a good result, and I think a draw away from home is always a good result. But I think going for the title, you have to win these type of games. I didn't watch the game against Barcelona, as you know, in Australia. Games are at crazy times, so I can only choose to watch Arsenal games for that reason. But they had a very, very good performance, man. For all things considered, so we're both going into the game, on good form. But the thing is, I think Chelsea still have to convince me, man. I think Chelsea are a good team. They're a young team as well, and they have talented players. But I think I think I was having this I had this point with one of my other friends, and I was saying probably the pressure is on Arsenal, but the questions are on Chelsea. Do you get what I'm
I hear
saying?
that.
So like as in like Arsenal are under pressure because going for a title, you have to be under pressure. But I think the questions, like there's too many questions on Chelsea, man. we don't know if they're just if they're pretenders or if they're actually in a title race, and this game is going to prove that. I think Maresca, he's been very, very coy, and he's tried to downplay Chelsea being in a title race. You know that but I'm thinking you're second in the league. You win a game, you know where you're going to be, man. So like at the end of the day, for sure, two form teams going up against each other. But I think Arsenal, man, it's just a churning machine, man. We just got to keep going. We just got to keep winning. And I think, to be fair, like this would probably be like the biggest statement of the season. We go away from home against the team second in the table. If we get a
Yep.
victory in this game, not only belief like with the fans, like as in going to be sky high, but I think the belief in the players, that they can go away from home to a form team, um, you know, and get a victory, get the 3 points, to move them 9 points past that said team, like, oh, my confidence, man. So again, man, I'm looking for a victory, man, for sure.
Yeah, no, I think you make a very good point, and yeah, no, we'll see. Like, hopefully, the players, I'm sure they will. Like, I'm sure they will kind of see that way too, where yeah, they need to be trying to win this game to create that separation, and I think that's when no one can kind of argue with you being first. You when you go away from home, you beat the team in second, especially like I don't know if you saw today, like City's game. I didn't see much of it, but what I've heard, yeah, they weren't great against Leeds. Also, so they got the 3 points, but again, it's like all the teams that are chasing, they're still there's not a lot of confidence behind them also being able to sustain a long kind of period of good form. So winning this kind of game, I think again it will just show to everyone that Arsenal really are the undisputed favorites for this title this season. But then again, like I said, we lose this game and it opens everything back up again. So it's definitely a very, very important match. And then it's actually quite funny too, because obviously the Spurs game, we see Hincapié come in, play, obviously, as we try to fill that kind of Gabriel size hole in centre back. Against Bayern, we see Mosquera come in and do an amazing job there too. So my question to you is like, how do you actually see Arsenal kind of setting up? Who do you think gets the kind of call up in this game? Like, how do you see Arteta approaching it? What's your take? What do you think?
Yeah, so I think this particular Mosquera had a really good game against Bayern, to be honest, and to be fair, like other than the mistake, I believe it was Newcastle. I think he hasn't really put a foot wrong, to be honest with you. But I think because Hincapié took a seat in midweek, I think he'll probably get the nod to partner Saliba in the middle. I think he's an interesting character, man. Like as in, I think you obviously mentioned before we got him on loan, and but like as in, it feels like a signing that's obviously going to be like a long term sign. But yeah, there's nothing but you know, I think Hincap is probably the move. I think it's probably going to be interesting, like what we do if obviously Trossard's not fit as well. Like I think that's probably a bigger question, I would say. We've
You know
obviously
what I think
got
the answer to that
Martinelli and
question is?
and Madueke. I don't know if they're probably fit to start. Talk to me.
I think it's how fit Odegaard is. I think if Odegaard is fit enough to start the game, he's gonna move Eze to the left
Mm.
wing. I think if he isn't, then Eze will stay in the 10. So I think that's probably one of the key kind of like answers to what he does with that left wing position. Because yeah, Eze has been way too good to drop him completely from the team if he wants to bring Odegaard in. But also if Odegaard isn't fit, then that's when it's like okay, well, then I think it probably will be Madueke. I think his subs against Bayern were also very telling. The order that he brought them on in, it seems like I think he likes the Madueke and Saka combination, which then means Saka can go to the left and Madueke can go to the right. And I feel like you don't get that obviously with Martinelli. So I think that's probably his kind of starting team if everything goes well, in my opinion. So yeah, I think that's kind of how I see it going. It's that Odegaard kind of fitness that's going to determine it.
Yeah,
But yeah,
but
well, continue. Yeah.
yeah, I also think as well. Like we've got a plethora of options, man. Like and these options are like different. Um, you know what they say, man. Horses for courses. Like as in, you can have Eze on the left, who's more of a roamer. Madueke, who's very tricky, but obviously if he's playing on the left, he's on his left foot, so that presents a different problem. Or you got Martinelli as well, man. But I think, to be fair, I think you're right. Like, just in the order of the subs that Arteta made, with Madueke coming on first, it seems like maybe he's ahead of Madueke is ahead of Martinelli, just in terms of fitness. But I think Martinelli off the bench, man, he's been incredible, man. So it's one of those things where we're gonna see what happens. Madueke going up against his old club. Martinelli loves a goal against Chelsea for sure. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, like I mentioned before, I think you're right. I think Odegaard Odegaard's probably the key, and I think if he is fit, it's going to be interesting how we play. But yeah, I think sticking to the midfield, I think we obviously got to mention the battle between Rice and Caicedo. I mean, I think we have to be frank and say that they're actually not kind of going up against each other. But like I said, at the moment, they're two of the best midfielders, if not in the league, in the world, man. So talk to me, that man. What are you thinking?
No, honestly, that was actually going to be my next question in terms of the main battles that we kind of see in this game. So we might as well get into it. But yeah, I think that's definitely one of them. Yeah, Rice. What's it called, Caicedo? Because yeah, I feel like, because I guess like Rice kind of answered early in the week when they asked him like who's been better. He says like, yeah, Caicedo's more of a 6, he's more of an 8. So I think it's definitely going to be Rice kind of wandering into Caicedo's territory, and we're going to see how well Caicedo deals with him from a defensive perspective as well. But yeah, I think we're going to see two very good midfielders. Where I think it's going to be very interesting is I feel like our midfield options are a lot more settled. Where the question is Eze or Odegaard, but it's going to be Rice and Zubimendi. Whereas with Chelsea, is it going to be Caicedo, Enzo? Is it going to be Caicedo, and I don't know, would he go Reece James, which then kind of changes that midfield kind of partnership also. So I think the Chelsea midfield is probably a lot more kind of, I'm not sure exactly what we're going to see, which obviously changes the overall picture in that like split and part of the pitch. But yeah, no, I think it's going to be a very good battle. I'm going to have to back Declan Rice, man. I think he has what it takes to and kind of cover those spaces that I think Chelsea will leave for us also, but Caicedo also. That's why it's going to be interesting to see who do you think is actually the better matchup from our perspective? Like, would you go for Eze or would you go for Odegaard if you had the choice? Like, Odegaard is maybe like he's fit, but you can still technically keep him on the bench if he's not 100%. How would you who do you think you'd kind of want in those Caicedo spaces? Because we do have to respect him that he is a very, very good DM.
Yeah, look, I think in my opinion, Eze to me feels like a player that, I think we mentioned it, or I mentioned it earlier, where he's a very, very low touch player, right? So like, as even the spaces that he picks up, like as in he's ghosting, like as in within that particular area. So I think it might be harder for Caicedo to track a player like Eze, rather than, but then again with Odegaard, right? Like as in, he's a player that rarely loses the ball. He is susceptible to a press, like as in a high level press. But because in that's few and far between, man. So like as in, most of the time, Odegaard always keeps the ball, and even the spaces that he picks up, he is kind of in that right hand channel. So in a sense, he might not even be kind of playing in that particular area that Caicedo will be in. I think obviously Eze would probably play a little bit higher, but I also think he's not that much of a he's not always like as in touching the ball. So I think it's for him, it's just kind of finishing off those chances, and when they come. So personally, I think because Odegaard's, he obviously did come on against Bayern, but I think he's probably still not there yet. I'd stick with Eze, though. I think Eze he's earned it. He's been playing well. He's been playing well. and he's just performing to a standard, which is what Arsenal need, man. So I think that then begs the question. I think you do. I think I do agree with you. You probably go Madueke on the left. He's got a lot to prove against Chelsea. He's his old club, and I think that dynamic between the two wingers as well is going to be really really good.
No, 100%. So yeah, no, I definitely would agree with you, and I would stick with Eze, like especially if Odegaard isn't 100%, and he hasn't started the game yet, so I wouldn't throw him into this game. So yeah, I'll stick with Eze. Let Odegaard come off the bench. Like Eze can always move later on in the game if need be. Like and yeah, and definitely I would go Madueke. I'd have Martinelli come off the bench. The argument for Martinelli maybe is just Chelsea, though, especially the way they approach against Liverpool, are very high pressing. They're going to put us under pressure as well. So you kind of also do want the kind of doggedness that Martinelli can bring as well from a defensive perspective, like in terms of, especially if it's going to be like a very high pressing transitional game. So that's maybe the only thing that I would maybe think about when it comes to the Martinelli over Madueke kind of conversation there. So it's definitely one for Arteta to kind of consider. But yeah, but I guess moving on to what I guess the other big kind of matchups in this, obviously we also have the Reece James versus Timber. Like we have I don't know if there's any other kind of like the big comparisons that people are discussing of like who is the best right back. Like do you have what's your take on that? I guess I'm being unbiased. And then the final kind of one that we have to touch on is Cucurella versus Saka, because I think that's gonna be another pivotal battle in this game to determine what happens. But yeah,
Yeah,
but talk to me.
look, I think I think at the end of the day, it's more so that kind of that left hand side. Like I think Reece James, man. To be honest, look, Reece James, we have to say, man, he's been a very very quality fullback, man, for a very very time, man. I think on form, man, Timber's been exceptional, man. He hasn't put a foot wrong at all. So obviously it's going to be a very very interesting. It's going to be interesting kind of battles, man. But I think, look, like I said, man, for me personally, Timber hasn't put a foot wrong, man. Timber's been amazing, man. I don't know Reece James's quality, but Timber has been very 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 good. So it's going to be a good battle, man. I'm more about the Saka, man, because look, really locked up Yamal.
Yup.
So again, it's going to be, how does Saka and how does he fare against him, man? So it's going to be interesting.
No,
Let's see.
100%. I guess like we were saying, so it's definitely a tough game. So I guess if you can hear me, what's it good? Yeah, what's your I guess score prediction, and how do you see this one going? Think it. Oh, you're muted by the way. Yeah.
Rookie mistake. I was on mute. Yeah. So I think Arsenal win, man. I think Arsenal win the game. And I think we come up with a 2-0. I think we win 2-0. I just think we're in a good flow state at the moment, man. I think Arsenal are playing really, really well. And we've just got to keep going, man. I think, don't get me wrong, man. Chelsea's a good team. But I think Arsenal are just playing some of the best football, and just defensively we're sound as well. So I just think we're going to come out with the victory here, man. But would it be a 1-0 as well? And it's a tight game. It's fair. Tactically, Bresca is a good coach as well. But yeah, I just think just our year, man. It's our year, and I think this is one of those games where if it is your year, you wait to Stamford Bridge and get a victory, man. So yeah, man, I'm gonna say 2-0, man. How about yourself? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I like that. I like the 1-0 or the 2-1 shout, to be honest, because yeah, I think Chelsea definitely have enough to threaten us going the other way. But I think what's going to be their undoing, I keep coming back to, is I still look at them and set pieces, long throws. They still seem very susceptible. That's why I also do kind of see the 1-0 where we get our janky goal. we defend well and we just kind of like just stop them from scoring. Like, especially, I don't know if you've seen the kind of jokes of like, yeah, whether Palmer's dodging or not, that he's not sure what he wants to do. Because one day he has a stub toe and he's missing the game, then now he's gonna be on the bench. So yeah, we'll see whether he can come in and make an impact. But I think definitely Chelsea, you have to give them a lot of respect here. I think I'm probably gonna go 2-1 is my kind of final prediction in this game, because yeah, I think it can definitely go either way. It should definitely be a very good game for the neutral.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But yes, I think the last thing that we should talk about is, yeah, I think, like we said, it's been a good time so far. Been on a great run. We have a big game tomorrow that is going to be pivotal for what happens for the rest of the season. But I think we're also in kind of quite a good place where you also have a lot of returning players, like we said, Odegaard, Martinelli, Madueke has come back recently. I see Gyökeres and Havertz. I saw that Jesus is making his ways to the game tomorrow. I don't know what he's going there to do, but apparently he's traveling with the team. So I don't know. I guess out of all these players that are returning, who are you the most excited to see? And then like, who do you think is going to be pivotal? I guess to get like just to see like the rest of the next. I guess between now and when we speak next, like who do you kind of expect to kind of come back and make a big impact?
Yeah, for for me, for me, I think I have to say, look, like I'll go give a good shout out to Jesus. Like Jesus for me, like as in he's one of my favorite players, man. Because I think technically, he's amazing, man. I think what he could do to this team is amazing. But he's actually not my answer, man. I think my answer, I have to say, has to be Odegaard, man. I think even Wenz says it in the chat, man. I think Odegaard, he's the player, because I think he's the number one. He's the captain. He's the captain of the team, and I think he's gonna have a big role, man. Because I think he's the guy that when it's going tough, he has the keys to unlock the game. And I think he's had a start to the season. So I'm hoping he can get a good run of games, like as in and build up those relationships as well. But I think obviously even Gyökeres, Havertz, like you're thinking of all of these players, man. Like it's a good time. So it's one of those things where we're gonna see what happens. I think Wenz is asked when's Havertz is it Odegaard or
Yeah,
Havertz? I think
um,
Odegaard's obviously playing.
yeah. Oh
Havertz
yeah, yeah.
Havertz is
Odegaard's back. Yeah.
probably a
Odegaard is
couple
back.
more
He
weeks
came on
away, innit?
against Bayern. Yeah. I think Arteta said that him and Gyökeres, Havertz and Gyökeres have both traveled with the squad, so they're gonna face a late fitness test to see
They're
whether they're
close.
gonna
They're
be. But
close. I
yeah,
would
they're
say, yeah.
probably they're not back probably tomorrow. But yeah, they're close next couple of weeks. So Odegaard is already back. It's just about, I think he's only played like 20 minutes, so I think he's definitely gonna have to probably build him up slowly when he gets half 60 minutes next game. Or but yeah, I doubt he starts this one. But I agree though. I think I have to echo those words. So I think with Odegaard, it's just very interesting to see how Arteta also kind of like lines up these players, because again the squad depth is great, but what's also helped is that there's been a lot of injuries. So when all of these guys come back and now there's that tough decision of who makes the bench, who is left at home, it's going to be very interesting to see like what our kind of best team where everyone fit kind of looks like. So yeah, I think Odegaard, because you kind of know he's coming back into the team in some shape or form, it's like Arteta, how are you gonna make this kind of work now? Because yeah, Eze has been very good in that position. What happens? So yeah, now definitely from an Arsenal perspective, it's definitely an interesting profile. And then I'm trying to think to be a bit different. I'm trying to think anyone else. I think Gyökeres as well. I'm excited for him to come back as well, because I'm hoping that he's kind of learned, like he's kind of been thrown into deep end into the Premier League. He had some good performances, not great ones. I think the Burnley game, unfortunately, was probably his best half that I've seen so far Arsenal before he went off injured, and then we haven't seen him since then. So we really do need him to kick on, because that's part of the kind of problem. This is Marino. He's done a great job, and it's getting to a point now where I'm not even really upset when I see Marino up front anymore. I'm just like, he's gonna do me a job. Like I'm not his biggest fan sometimes, but he's gonna do me a job. That's what he showed me. So like fair play to him as well, playing that position and making his own. But yeah, no, so yeah, definitely interesting time, interesting kind of big game tomorrow. But yeah, we'll be there. And afterwards, we'll be there to talk about it, bro. But I think that's pretty much what we were going to talk about today. I don't know if there's any kind of final questions, anything you want to kind of leave off on.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be honestly, it's gonna be a tough game. And you know, Chelsea is going to be a very it's going to be a good marker, man, to see where we're at. And I'm just looking forward to seeing the team. You know, in my head, man, I always go back to those comments from Rodri. You know, like as in when he was saying, you know, like if you're going to win the title, man, you got to go City, and or you got to go away and win. And you know, I think this is one of those type of games, man. Where I feel like we gotta go there, man. Get the victory, man.
Well,
You know, like
and
as in
again, you
because
know what?
that's what you know, that's what title hopefuls do, man.
Something that we have not spoke about too is Arteta as well. Like he also needs to not galaxy brain this, because the Anfield game, we can't have another repeat of that where we just go so negative and then now like, so he also needs to really get the balance of the team right also. So yeah, it's gonna be a big test for him to see whether he's learning.
For sure. But like I said, man, I think all intents and purposes, I think we're in good form, and I think that the team should pick itself, man. You know, like as in the team should be there, and to get that victory, man. So that's what we're hoping for, man, for sure.
No, 100%. But yeah, that is all, Abdul. Thank you very much for coming through. Obviously, it was great talking Arsenal with you as always. Hopefully, we end this great week with another great performance, another great result. And yeah, so if you want to just, I guess, finally, I guess, quick plug again for where people can find you. Thank you for coming through, bro.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you very much for having me as well, man. And we'll catch up on that. We'll catch up next time for sure, man.
All right, see you next time, bro.